To give us more assessment in terms of what, of course, is happening at this moment within Lebanon, we're being joined by Dr. Malcolm Davis, who is a senior analyst in defense strategy and capability at the Australian Strategic Policy Institute. Is, of course, joining us live on our broadcast. Dr. Davis, let me in fact start off by asking you this. Now, initially there was a lot of speculation as to how these detonations could be carried out, but it's now come to light that it is very possible that these devices could have been booby-trapped. How do you think Israel could have gotten access to these devices for them to be booby-trapped, and how far back do you think Israel could have done this?
Look, I think this is what's known as a supply chain attack. In other words, what it is that the Israeli intelligence recognized that Hezbollah were shifting away from mobile phones because of the lack of security on mobile phones to these older technologies of pocket pages and walkie-talkies. And that happened some months back, and so the Israelis had an opportunity to intercept the supply of those walkie-talkies and pages and insert explosive charges into those. So this was essentially a very well-planned, audacious attack that was designed to incapacitate the top leadership of Hezbollah by attacking Hezbollah through these communication devices directly.
And also considering the fact that it started off with the pages and then it was these walkie-talkie devices, now people are saying that there could be many other devices which people should be very careful about. For instance, their handheld telephones, laptops, probably even electric cars. Where does this list even end?
Well, I think it ends in the sense that this is probably a series of one-off attacks that the Israeli intelligence have managed to mount. It's one of those sorts of uses of technology and tactics that once you've done it, your opponent will be much more aware of it, and it will be much more difficult to carry it out again. And I think that probably extends to other conflicts. So it'll be much more difficult, for example, in another conflict for an adversary to do the same sort of thing, because the vulnerability of these systems has been demonstrated. So I don't think this is necessarily going to be groundbreaking in terms of how warfare changes, but it's certainly an innovative tactic and an audacious attack.
Now, the Israelis have been talking about a new phase in the war, and considering what's been happening in the last 48 hours, a lot of people have said that this is the 21st century version of the Trojan horse tactic that's being used. Do you think Israel is now planning a much bigger offensive in Lebanon?
I certainly think that they would not do this sort of supply chain attack if it wasn't going to be followed up by something else. They've done this to incapacitate and disrupt Hezbollah's command and control for a reason. And that reason probably is for the Israelis to be able to go in to southern Lebanon to attack Hezbollah and force them back. There's been discussion within the Israeli government about trying to change the parameters of the war so that Hezbollah is pushed back from the border and Israeli citizens can return to their houses in northern Israel. And I think that's what you're going to see next. You're going to see this sort of second phase opening up where the Israeli Defense Force goes into southern Lebanon and forces Hezbollah back and tries to defeat Hezbollah decisively.
And also in an increasingly a globalized world where supply chain linkages make it possible for people in different parts of the world to access devices that are manufactured in a completely different part of the world that then reaches through supply chains. Do you think going forward, nations will be looking up very closely at the devices that they import within their territory before they're used?
Absolutely, and I think this has been a wake-up call. You know, everyone who has a mobile phone, most of those mobile phones are made in China, for example. So given the relationship between China and the West, I think that there will be greater attention focused on just what is happening inside those devices. You know, what is being placed inside those devices. It may not be explosives, but it may be some sort of surveillance capability. So I do think that supply chain security is a really important issue. I think this Israeli attack has demonstrated how significant and how vulnerable supply chains are. And I think we do need to be much more on our guard for future sorts of supply chains attacks that we could see.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed, Dr. Davis, for joining us and getting us that perspective there.
Thank you.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.